Hello, friends. Welcome to Nirmal Bang. I'm Piyush Jain, and today I'm bringing to you a conversation with a market veteran, an investor, a fund manager, a person who is renowned across the world, has traveled across the world. Quantum Funds was a fund which was associated for a long time with him. And we have actually sort of heard from him multiple times over various markets. And I would sort of summarize everything in one simple line. He is an expert in identifying undervalued themes across asset classes across the world. Let me now introduce to you Mr. Jim Rogers. Mr. Rogers, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon. I'm delighted to be here. Good morning. I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you. Mr. Rogers, let's sort of first start right now from the perspective of global markets, and then I'll go to sort of asset classes. From the global markets perspective, the last year, a lot of headlines. There was a war, then we saw volatility in the asset classes across the markets. Fund flows started switching. We actually saw a lot of selling into a couple of Asian markets. Indian markets, some but still outperformed, but a lot of markets like again from Vietnam to South Korea to Philippines, a lot of selling happened there. We saw sort of sharp selling European markets, a bit in USA markets. Now in 2023, how you are actually seeing the global markets?
Good question. Yeah, very good question. Everybody should watch your show to get the answer. That's why I'm here to learn. Well, markets go up, they react, they go up, they correct, they go up, and that's what's happening now. Yes, we had a big move up in inflation because markets went higher, grain, oil, and everything else. Now they're correcting, which is normal, but before this is over, they will go higher and inflation will come back.
Right. And from this perspective, when we're looking, as you just said about inflation here, and we know how the interest rate hikes have happened with US Fed, one sort of state view has been that perhaps in the second half, we could be seeing sort of either a pullback from interest rate hikes to a pivot, or we are going to see some slowdown. And US economy is very important for assessing the direction of US dollar. So how you are seeing that?
Well, when inflation comes, it takes a long time to kill it. In the 1970s, we had inflation, serious inflation. It's now worse. You know, the U.S. in the 1970s was a creditor nation. There was the Soviet Union. There was Red China. A lot has changed since the 1970s. At the end of the 1970s, in order to kill inflation, interest rates on U.S. Treasury bills were 21%. 21% on U.S. Treasury bills. That's not a typo. So it takes a lot to kill inflation. Inflation's worse now. So before this is over, we're going to have to see very high interest rates. I don't like it. I'm just telling you facts. And we'll see very high interest rates to kill inflation. I hope they kill inflation this time around. And in the meantime, since we have printed so much money, when I say we, central banks around the world, we are having a strong economy in most places. The economy is stronger than normal, and that's because there was so much money printed before, and all of that money is still having an effect. Don't worry, we're going to have a slowdown later. So it's already started probably, and the slowdown will be very serious, because inflation is so bad and the debt is so high everywhere in the world. But in the meantime, we're having a good time.
Right, and that's something which is very important. From that aspect, where do we go? If the slowdown is happening, is the US dollar going to become a benchmark for a run of safety? You go to US Treasury yields, or US Treasuries, dollar goes higher, or it becomes like if slowdown is happening, then dollar is going to weaken. Like how actually we should see it?
Well, the US dollar is still the world's reserve currency. It's not going to last forever. The way the world reserve currency is supposed to work is neutral, supposed to be neutral, and anybody can use it anywhere for anything. Unfortunately, Washington is changing that now. If Washington gets angry at you, they put sanctions on you and say you cannot use the US dollar. Well, many countries are starting to say, wait a minute, that's not the way it's supposed to work. It's supposed to be neutral for everybody. So many countries are now looking for something to compete with the US dollar. And it's going to happen that the world is going to move away from the US dollar. I don't like it, but I can see what's happening. The US is the largest debtor nation in history, so there are fundamental reasons to move away. But there are also political reasons because the US is not playing fair anymore. So I don't know what's going to start competing with the US dollar. I'm looking for it. If you know what it is, Jen, please do not announce it on the show. Send me a private email. I want to know what it is too. Everybody's looking now.
Right. And now, actually, with this question, I wanted to go to gold here. This is why actually I was asking you this question. We have seen a sort of sharp rally in the gold, but then market prices is one thing about the sentiment. I was looking at the bank data here. The Indian sentiment has been buying gold like never before. They've been buying quarter after quarter a lot of physical gold, and we've also seen sort of good buying happening from the Chinese banks. Gold has started to trade at premium in the domestic markets, both in China and India. What's your reading about the gold? Why are central banks buying so much of gold?
Well, they see the same thing I'm seeing. They see that the US dollar is coming to an end, but in the meantime, I don't know, and I guess they don't know either, what's going to replace the dollar, what's going to compete. And in the meantime, gold and silver will be good places to hold your money until the world figures out what to do next. I own gold, I own silver. I'm not buying them now, but I will buy more if they get cheap enough, especially silver. You know, silver is cheaper than gold on a historic basis.
But as per you, what actually can make gold and silver cheaper from the current levels?
Well, I mean, silver's down 50%, over 50% from its all-time high. Gold is down 15% from its all-time high. The market does strange things. It always does. I don't know why silver is so cheap right now. But as I said, if I were buying one, I would buy silver right now. But before this is over, I hope I'm smart enough to buy more of both because the world is going to have serious problems. And all of us know, especially all of us peasants, I'm a peasant too, I'm an old peasant. We know that when there are problems, we better have some gold in the closet. We better have some silver under the bed. So I hope that I have more too before this is over. If you
Right.
know, as I said before, if you know what is going to replace the dollar, let us all know.
Right. And from that aspect, and I know you track currencies so closely, between the currencies and the gold and silver, right now, is there anything which you're buying at present?
That I should be, well, I know I should own more gold and silver before this is over, but I'm not buying either right now. I'm waiting for them to correct some more. As I said, if I were buying one today, I would buy silver because it's cheaper, but I'm not buying either right now. But I have to tell you, Jim, my market timing is not very good. Everybody should ask you about market timing, not me.
No, I think our viewers actually are very sure about that they will like to hear you more because you're renowned for identifying undervalued themes, which I think is what actually everybody wants to really know about it. But let's sort of go to Indian markets also. Have you been tracking the Indian markets recently?
I haven't been tracking the last few days because I've been under the weather, but I certainly am aware of the Indian market. There have been times in my life when I have owned Indian shares. I do not own any now, but there have been times when I have owned Indian shares.
What's your sort of view on the Indian economy and also largely the Asian economy?
Well, India's building debt. You know, India 30 years ago didn't have much debt, if any, 20 years ago. But now India's been adding debt. That does not mean that there won't be times when I will buy Indian shares again, but not at the moment. I'm trying to wait for a correction, a big drop, and shares everywhere, shares, commodities, everything. I like to buy when things are going down.
Right. And from that aspect, which are the markets, or which is any market where actually you've recently started buying into?
Well, Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan is not a market for most people. Uzbekistan was an old Soviet republic. It was a disaster under the Soviets and after, but now there's a new people and they're running the country the way I would run the country. I hope, I think. So I've started buying small amounts of Uzbekistan. But I'm looking. There's not many cheap markets these days.
Absolutely.
Agriculture is still cheap, but not agriculture in Uzbekistan, but not many others.
Right. And is agriculture a theme which also is running across other countries also?
Yes, agriculture nearly everywhere has been a disaster. The average age of farmers in America is 58. It's been a horrible disaster. The average age of farmers in Japan is 66. It's a
That's very
horrible. Agriculture has been a horrible disaster for a long time. So either we're not going to wear clothes and we're not going to eat, or agriculture is going to change, and it's starting to change.
Yes, because in India, like we are now actually seeing a lot of new age technologies going into India. Some people are using satellites. Some people are using ground high tech equipments to really find out soil quality. Some people are using drones to really sort of spray nutrients or see the land. So yeah, as you're saying, a lot of things are happening in agriculture.
Well, India at times in history has been a fantastic agriculture nation. You have the soil, you have the weather, you have the people, and at times you've been great. Your government has overregulated agriculture, unfortunately, but don't worry. They're going to be very rich Indian farmers again someday.
Absolutely, absolutely. From staying on agriculture, right now, what's your view at present? We have seen sort of very high sort of prices, whether it is edible oil, it is grains. We have seen a lot of high prices last year. Is this year where you would believe that perhaps the agri commodities they will start cooling off this year, or they should stay at the sort of same levels?
Well, what I suspect will happen, and I don't know, but if there's peace in Ukraine, for instance, oil, gas, grains will all go down for a while, but that will be the time to buy because the basic fundamentals for grain and energy are still in trouble. And that would be a great buying opportunity. One reason I have not been buying is because something's going to happen eventually, and it will make grain go down and energy go down. I hope I'm smart enough to buy if that happens.
Right. And you would believe that this year we are going to see an end to the Russia-Ukraine war? I'm just asking because both are big exporters of grains, so directly related to the markets here. Do you believe there's a possibility of that?
Always a possibility. I would expect that something will happen. The war is not doing Russia any good. It's not doing Ukraine any good. It's not doing the West any good. And the West started the war. So I would think that something will happen and people will realize, hey, let's stop the war. I don't know. I have no inside information. I don't know. Maybe we should all watch Jen to find out. But I expect something will happen sometime this year to stop the war.
Right. And in your interaction with your friends, like-minded institutional investors, how's the West thinking right now from an institutional perspective? Are they really looking to sort of stay safe in the developed markets only? Because I know you think absolutely different. Like you've identified Uzbekistan, which most of the fund managers they actually won't even identify. But what is your own thinking right now? Because we have seen some sort of exodus of the money last year. This year we have seen return of the money into India. What's the sort of overall risk sense among the institutions at present or your friends at present?
Well, most people, it seems, think that there is a recession happening now or happening soon. In my experience, when everybody knows something's going to happen, it doesn't happen. No, when everybody thinks the same way, somebody's not thinking. But nearly everybody I know expects recession now or recession soon. And that's one reason that I am more optimistic because, there's still a lot of money out there. Central banks will not raise rates much more for a while. So I would expect that the economy will continue stronger than most of us expect for a while. Uh, I don't see disasters anywhere. Well, Ukraine is a disaster, Russia is a disaster, but I don't see many disasters anywhere yet. Yet we will have them. Don't worry, Jen. We will have big disasters next year or the year after. But I don't see them now because everybody thinks the same way. And that usually means somebody's not thinking.
Absolutely. That's actually a great point. And I will say on this show, I think our viewers will agree with that. We are hearing a similar view from every foreign institution that they're expecting a recession this year. So exactly what you're saying.
Well,
But
we may have recession this year. I just don't think it's going to be in March, which everybody thinks it's happening now. Maybe, but usually you should wait when everybody thinks the same way.
absolutely, very very good point. I think our viewers should learn from that here. From the other perspective, it's also sort of election year we are approaching in USA, and from that aspect, what's the sort of impact I would say you would believe either on the economy or the dollar or either way on the financial markets? Because we are actually observing it closely for our Indian economic sake.
Well, as far as the dollar is concerned, it has been the world's reserve currency. But, for political reasons, the U.S. is starting to say, if we don't like you, we cut you off. Now, the world is saying, well, wait, that's not the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be neutral. So everybody in the world, China, India, Russia, everybody is looking for something to compete with the US dollar. And it's going to happen. It's been changing for a long time because the debt in the US has gone higher and higher and higher, continues. And everybody's looking for something to compete with the US dollar. As I said before, I don't know what it's going to be. I very much am looking. I look every day saying, what will people use? It cannot be the Chinese money because China still have a blocked currency. India cannot be for many reasons. So I don't know what it will be, but I am looking because I know, no independent reserve currency, international reserve currency, has been on top for more than 100 years or so ever. Well, the U.S. dollar has been on top a long time, so it's time. And there are fundamental and political reasons for it to change. And I know it, I don't like it, but I know it's going to change. So I am looking.
Right. And also, Mr. Rogers, what's your view? I'm just moving a step away from usually what you like. But technology stocks, they have a big weightage in USA. They have corrected a lot. And I'm trying to relate that because in India also we have a lot of good weightage on the technology sector. How you are actually seeing that move and how is it looking to you?
Well, back to India, I want to just emphasize again that there are times when India is a great place to invest. I am not investing there now. You've had a very good stock market for a while, for whatever reason. And as I said, I like to buy when things are going down. I don't see many markets where things have been going down. Maybe Japan, maybe China, Uzbekistan. But I am looking. I tell people all over the world, if you can only visit one country in your life, it should be India. There is no country that is so exciting for man-made sites, natural sites, the languages, the food. Oh my God, the women are always winning beauty contests, So there are many reasons to be interested in India. The government is not one of them. The government is usually not very efficient. But no, I certainly would like to invest in India again. I don't know what. It depends what goes down. But if something goes down in India in the next few weeks or months, I hope I'm smart enough to buy. I don't
Sure.
know if I answered your question, but I do like India a lot. I
Sure.
don't like the bureaucracy. I don't like the bureaucracy in India. You know, the Indians learned bureaucracy from the English, and then the Indians made it even higher and tougher. The Indians are very good at many things, copying bureaucracy, for instance.
I agree with you. One part actually we are not able to discuss, and I was asking you in USA whether it's Alphabet, Amazon, Microsoft, all other technology stocks. This part actually I wanted to ask you, sort of which is left unanswered, is that how you're seeing technology sector doing in USA?
Well, the U.S. has had some great technology companies over the decades. You mentioned some again. I usually don't invest in technology because I don't understand technology. My 15-year-old daughter knows more about her phone than I do. When I have a problem with technology, I call my young daughters because they know more than I do. But technology can be fantastic for the people who understand it. You can make a huge fortune if you understand technology. I don't understand it, so it's rare. The few times that I've invested in technology, I have sold short when I see they just get really, really crazy. But at the moment, I have no shorts and no longs in technology.
Okay, now going to the mining sector here, Australia-China relationships are once again opening up. Is that Australia market a market where you have ever invested, or you actually are taking some interest because it's a very mining heavy stock market and also very mining heavy country, which is somewhere where you track very closely.
I've invested in Australia many times over the decades. I have a few probably now, but at the moment I am looking. But no, Australia can be fabulous if you can find the right mining companies, even agriculture. If you can find the right companies in Australia, you will get very, very rich. I don't
Okay,
know what they are at the moment. I'm not. I'm not. I told you I'm not really investing much these days. I'm waiting to see if something good happens to make the market go down, and then I hope to invest more.
okay. Answer is noted, and let's sort of round up our discussion with my sort of last question to you, and that would be, and I'm now sort of inferring from the answers which you've given to us, agricultural commodities, gold and silver. These are the areas where actually you've told us in this conversation that you're liking them and you're waiting sort of for good times or good opportunities. On the silver, I'm just focusing on the silver in my last question, where you are actually thinking the silver is going to outperform than gold. Uh, my answer to you would be that is silver right now at a good price, and suppose if anybody wants to buy now or after some correction, where do you see silver 1 year from now, 2 year from now? Like where should silver really go?
Well, here's some silver right here. I own some silver. I have some gold too, as I said. And listen, India knows more about silver and gold than anybody in the world. You know that. I think you own more. I know you own more gold than anybody in the world. You probably own more silver too than anybody in the world. So India is a great place to learn about silver and gold. You can other places too, but no, when things go wrong, everybody wants to own some silver and gold, and things will go wrong again sometime in the next year or two. So everybody, if people do not have silver and gold now, everybody should start buying some because before this is over, you should own a lot of silver and gold to survive and to do well.
Well, Vijay,
But India, Jen, I think you know, India owns more silver and gold than anybody in the world. You're very smart. You've been doing this a long, long, long time. Keep it up.
I agree with you. I think even the household ladies actually they do a lot of research on gold and silver. So I agree with you. Um, But that's sort of a learning we're taking from this conversation. Gold and silver, they remain the sort of places to own. And agricultural commodities is where actually there is some interest from Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers, it's always a pleasure to talk to you and learn from you. Thank you for coming on the show.
Well, I learned from you, Jim, but don't forget agriculture. I mentioned agriculture too. And India can be fantastic at agriculture at some times in its history. Thank you. It's been fun. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Be careful. Tell everybody to be careful.
Absolutely. So that's a message we'll take home. And with that, it's a wrap on the show, dear viewers. Hope you enjoyed it.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel for in-depth interviews of India Inc. and press the bell icon so that you do not miss our updates.